Imagine logging onto Instagram and seeing one of hip-hop's biggest legends dragged straight into the gutter, and not for his music, not for a business move, but because someone dared to mock his mother's grave. Yeah, you read that right. 50 Cent, the man who built an empire from bullets, beefs, and brand deals, suddenly finds himself personally attacked in the cruelest, most shocking way possible. Who thought the streets of social media could get this ugly? Who thought a feud that started over a Versus discussion would end up digging into literal graves? And yet, here we are. It all started with a seemingly innocent Instagram post. A photo, a caption, a shrug emoji. But what happened next was apocalyptic. T.I.'s son, King Harris, just 21, decided to go nuclear, and let's just say, the internet has never seen a clapback this dark. This controversial, this morally explosive. Now 50 Cent is firing back, the stakes are skyrocketing, and the lines between family fame and fury have completely blurred. So what really went down? Who's in the wrong? And more importantly, how far is too far in a hip-hop feud? Strap in, because what I'm about to show you is wild, shocking, and absolutely unmissable. You ever think you've seen everything the internet has to offer, and then some 21-year-old decides to rewrite the rules of disrespect in hip-hop history? That's exactly what went down when King Harris, T.Y.'s eldest son, went nuclear on 50 Cent in a move that made the entire culture pause, blink, and then immediately start typing furious takes in comment sections across the globe. Let's rewind a bit, because if you didn't catch the live chaos, you might have thought someone was trolling. But no, this was real, personal, and morally insane. It all kicked off when 50 Cent, in what can only be described as a calculated act of social media guerrilla warfare, posted a photo of Tiny Harris, T.Y.'s wife. But this wasn't some glamorous magazine shot, no red carpet, no filters, no artistry. This was a bad angle, harsh lighting, photo chosen purely to embarrass her, to get under her husband's skin, and boy, did it work. Now, Tiny Harris isn't just someone's spouse. She's a founding member of Escape, one of the biggest R&B groups of the 90s, with a career spanning decades, hits that defined a generation, a legacy in music that can't be touched. And yet, for 50 Cent, it wasn't about the music, the respect, or history. It was pure, petty social media warfare, a way to throw shade and assert dominance over a fellow hip-hop mogul. The caption? Short, dismissive, the kind that makes it clear this wasn't about dialogue. I keep saying, keep my name out your mouth. Boom. That shrug emoji at the end, as if this entire move were nothing more than a Tuesday morning scroll. Light work, right? But that little post, that tiny digital flick of the wrist, that's when King Harris decided it was time to respond. And he didn't just respond. He escalated into a place no one was prepared for. King, who's been in the public eye since childhood thanks to his parents' empire, saw someone put his mother, a legend, in a position meant to embarrass, belittle, and diminish her accomplishments. And King isn't just defending her reputation, he's defending her honor, her legacy, and in her place in a culture that doesn't often get it right with women, even legends like Tiny Harris. So what did he do? Did he post a witty meme? A subtle diss? A clever comment? Nah. He went straight to the deepest, darkest, most taboo territory in hip-hop feud history. He posted a picture of 50 Cent's deceased mother's grave. Yes, Sabrina Jackson. The woman murdered when Curtis Jackson was just 8 years old, whose life ended in tragedy, whose killer was never caught, whose memory has been sacred and untouchable for decades. And King didn't just leave it there. He captioned it with messages like, "Go dig her up," directly calling out a man who lost his mother as a child, someone who had tattooed her name on his arm, someone for whom that loss defined an entire chapter of his life. The internet collectively gasped. And trust me, no one typed LOL that day. People paused. People wondered if this had gone too far, if morality had been thrown out the window in the heat of a family feud. And here's the kicker. King Harris isn't some random kid hiding behind a phone. This is a son raised in the fiercely public world of reality TV and hip-hop royalty, someone who has seen beefs, business, and public pressure firsthand. He knows the optics, he knows the history, and yet, in a moment of instinct, rage, and familial loyalty, he decided nothing was off-limits. The public watched as he went story by story, looping back to the grave image, repeating the message, keeping the foot on the gas. And somewhere in the chaos, 50 Cent saw it. And that's when things got even uglier. 50 Cent isn't a man who takes disrespect lightly, especially when it hits his personal trauma. The mother he lost at 8 wasn't just a parent. She was the only constant, the only safe place in a world that was already stacked against him. Losing her shaped him, hardened him, and motivated him to dominate in an industry where showing weakness can be fatal. So when King Harris threw up that grave on the internet for millions to see, it wasn't just disrespect. It was a direct strike at the core of his identity, his childhood, and his pain. And if you think 50 Cent just scrolled past, think again. He responded, and as expected, it was classic Curtis Jackson energy. Calculated, menacing, and primed to escalate this feud beyond Instagram fights. But let's step back and understand why this is even happening. The origin of all this chaos isn't Tiny Harris. It's not King Harris. It's not even Sabrina Jackson's tragic history. And it's the versus that never was. The conversation between T.I. and 50 Cent in L.A. that supposedly was meant to celebrate their music catalogs, to honor their careers, and to give fans the matchup they had been dreaming about. T.I. says they mapped it all out, that there was a clean blueprint, a professional handshake in conversation, an agreement on execution. Then 50 Cent allegedly ghosted, walked away, acted like nothing was ever discussed. T.I. went public, tried to line it up, and 50 Cent's dismissive attitude sparked frustration, which spiraled into public shade, which spiraled into family involvement, which spiraled into grave posting. Now, let's be clear. 50 Cent has built a career on trolling, stirring the pot, and making attention-grabbing moves. He's done it with rappers, actors, businessmen, and random Twitter users. Oh, but using someone's spouse as a pawn? That's a low blow even by his standards, and it triggered the exact reaction you'd expect from a son who grew up watching his father, a mogul himself, navigate public feuds with strategy, care, and sometimes ruthless precision. King didn't hesitate. And what's wild is that the emotional logic is clear. His mother was being disrespected, his father was being undermined, and 50 Cent thought this was funny. King's response? Make it personal, make it hurt. Make it unforgettable. At this point, the internet went into overdrive. Social media threads lit up. Hip-hop podcasts dissected every post. Anonymous sources claimed they had insider info that King had planned this move for hours, pacing his room, deciding exactly how to hit Curtis Jackson where it would hurt the most. Others said it was pure instinct. No PR team, no leak strategy, no calculated marketing. Just a son defending his mother in the most extreme way possible. And the public? Well, some applauded the loyalty, some recoiled at the disrespect. The debate wasn't just about family versus family, it was about how far is too far in hip-hop beefs. Meanwhile, 50 Cent's camp reportedly went into damage control. But this isn't just about Instagram. It's about decades of history, street credibility, and personal trauma colliding in real time on the internet. Sources claimed that Curtis was furious but contained, taking careful note of how to respond without escalating to physical confrontation. But social media doesn't wait. Every post, every story, every like magnifies the feud. Every fan becomes a commentator, every page becomes a rumor mill, and every journalist wants a take that will go viral. And let's not forget the cultural stakes. Hip-hop has a long tradition of family members getting dragged into beefs, but almost no one has dared to touch the deceased parent of an icon, the woman whose memory shaped an entire superstar's life. This is territory where respect and ethics clash with vengeance and emotion. When King Harris posted that grave, he didn't just break the internet. He broke the code of conduct that many in the culture silently uphold. And from that moment on, it became clear that this feud was no longer just a battle of music, business, or ego. It was about identity, legacy, and family honor. And it was about to explode in ways no one could predict. The tension didn't stop there. T.I., watching this unfold, reportedly felt a mix of pride and concern. Pride that his son would defend his mother with such ferocity. Concern that the escalation could spiral out of control, dragging everyone deeper into controversy that might be impossible to contain. Sources close to the Harris family claimed T.I. sat his son down privately, tried to explain the weight of social responsibility, and reminded him that public actions have consequences. But the damage was already done. The post was live. Screenshots were circulating. Memes were being made. Headlines were already forming. 50 Cent versus King Harris, Graveyard War. And if you think this is where it ends, think again. Because 50 Cent isn't the type to sit quietly. The next move was already being drafted in the mind of the man who built an empire out of chaos. And when he responds, it won't just be another social media clapback. It's going to be strategic, surgical, and unforgettable, because Curtis Jackson knows exactly how to escalate without crossing certain lines. Except this time, the line had already been crossed for him. Tiny Harris has been attacked online. King Harris has gone nuclear, posting one of the most shocking, morally controversial images in recent hip-hop history. 50 Cent is watching, calculating, and ready to retaliate. T.I. is caught between pride and panic, and the culture is collectively holding its breath, waiting to see how the next move will change the game entirely. And this is just the beginning. What comes next will make every Instagram beef you've ever witnessed look like a high school argument over who gets the last slice of pizza. Stay tuned, because in this video, we dive into the scandal breakdown, public reactions, and all the chaos unleashed across social media and the streets of hip-hop. This is where the story explodes, where rumors run wild, and where the fallout starts shaping the narrative in ways no one saw coming. By the time the dust settled from King Harris's explosive Instagram post, the internet was a frenzied war zone of opinions, hot takes, and conspiracy theories. Everywhere you looked, people were dissecting every angle, every motive, every subtle message hidden in the captions and comments. Some fans were applauding King for standing up for his mother, claiming loyalty like that doesn't come around often in this culture. Others recoiled at the audacity, the sheer extremity of posting someone's deceased parent's grave for millions to see. Social media was split. But one thing was crystal clear. This wasn't going away anytime soon. Anonymous sources who claimed to have been inside the inner circles of both camps started leaking information faster than TMZ could type. One source, who refused to be named but claimed access to both 50 Cent and T.I.'s entourages, said, 50 was livid. He wasn't mad in the normal internet way. He was furious. This wasn't just about trolling. This was about history, legacy, and pain. He's not the kind of man who forgets personal attacks, not on his mother. Another alleged insider from the Harris side said, King acted before anyone could stop him. He's grown up in the spotlight. He knows the power of social media. He knew exactly how hard this would hit 50. The tension was palpable, and the kind that makes gossip outlets salivate and fans refresh their feeds every 30 seconds. Meanwhile, the cultural analysts and hip-hop commentators jumped in. This is one of the darkest, most morally complicated exchanges we've seen in a generation, said a pseudo-expert on one late-night podcast. We're talking about family, legacy, and personal trauma mixed with internet chaos, and you add in the music, the fame, the money. Man, it's combustible. And it truly was. Screenshots of King's post were circulating on every corner of Instagram, Twitter threads were blowing up, and TikTok compilations were trending, showing everything from 50's previous trolling moments to King's reaction, all with dramatic commentary. The story wasn't just viral, it was everywhere and everyone had an opinion. The wild this video? The timeline of events leading to this disaster reads like a thriller novel. Remember, this all started over a Versus conversation that never even happened on a public stage. T.I. claims they had agreed behind closed doors to plan a proper battle, a celebration of music, careers, and Southern hip-hop legacies. But according to leaked accounts, 50 Cent allegedly ghosted after the agreement. He acted as though no conversation had ever happened. T.I. went public, calling attention to the planned Versus and asking for respect for the process. Enter 50 Cent, dismissive, trolling, and posting Tiny Harris to assert dominance. The spark was lit, and King Harris poured gasoline on it. Online, reactions varied wildly. One Reddit thread titled "Graveyard Beef King Harris vs. 50 Cent" had over 5,000 comments within hours. Users debated not only morality but hip-hop etiquette, family loyalty, and historical precedent. "I get defending your mom, but posting her grave, that's next level," one user wrote. 50 Cent put Tiny up to shame, but King's move? Man, that's deeply personal and shocking. On Twitter, memes exploded, ranging from cartoonish depictions of 50 reacting to King's post to side-by-side shots of past rap beefs for comparison. Every time someone thought the story would cool down, a new leak or snippet would emerge, sending the internet into another frenzy. Then there were the fake investigative revelations that, for better or worse, fans lapped up like gospel. One alleged insider document circulated online claiming that after the post, 50 Cent temporarily pulled private security and legal teams into emergency strategy sessions. He's drafting potential responses not just for social media, but for interviews, business partners, and television appearances. The document, totally unverifiable but highly viral, claimed 50 is planning moves that go beyond Instagram. He's considering public interviews, subtle product placements, and even redirecting earnings from upcoming projects if necessary. He doesn't play this lightly. Whether true or not, the hype alone propelled the feud into legendary status overnight. T.I., on the other hand, seemed to be trying to navigate the storm with a mix of pride, strategy, and raw emotion. He reportedly told friends off the record, "I'm proud my son would go to war for family. But damn, we have to think about optics. We don't want to give them the headlines they're looking for." Leaked statements suggested he actively consulted with PR teams and trusted insiders, trying to mitigate backlash without silencing King's authentic reaction. But the problem was that authenticity sells, and the internet had already decided this was one of the wildest, most scandalous moments in modern hip-hop culture. Even financial implications started surfacing. Some speculative sources claimed that 50 Cent was allegedly considering delaying major business announcements, TV show launches, and brand partnerships until the situation cooled down. "Sponsors are nervous," one anonymous source reportedly said. "They don't want their brands associated with a social media war that includes deceased family members. It's messy, and it could impact millions." Whether that was real or just hype didn't matter. The rumor itself added fuel to the fire. Fans naturally took sides. Some glorified the Harris family loyalty, calling King a hero defending his mother's honor. Others felt 50 Cent was the real victim, arguing that dragging a deceased parent into a public feud was beyond acceptable limits. Even tabloids couldn't keep up, producing headlines like 50 Cent versus King Harris, hip-hop's darkest internet war, and Tiny Harris photo sparks grave controversy. The story had become a cultural phenomenon, dissected on talk shows, podcasts, blogs, and street corners alike. Every angle was analyzed, every motive questioned, and while everyone knew it was extreme, they couldn't stop watching. Then came the theoretical leaks about further escalation. Allegedly, insiders from both camps hinted that 50 Cent was preparing his own response campaign, including Instagram posts, potential video releases, and even unverified studio sessions with producers to craft diss tracks. Meanwhile, T.I. was rumored to be considering dropping snippets from upcoming albums, subtly targeting Curtis Jackson without mentioning him by name. It was a war of wits, music, and digital strategy, with the battlefield entirely online and every fan, journalist, and meme maker acting as artillery. Meanwhile, cultural commentators compared this feud to some of the most infamous historical rap beefs like Tupac versus Biggie, Jay-Z versus Nas, and even Nicki Minaj versus Remy Ma. The difference here, they pointed out, was the involvement of family members and deceased loved ones, which historically is almost untouchable territory. The audacity is insane, said one online commentator. Family and grave posts? That's a whole new level of disrespect. This is unprecedented in hip-hop culture. And with each new post, screenshot, and leaked insider report, the world was watching a modern tragedy meet social media spectacle unfold in real time. Of course, some clever analysts spotted the irony. King Harris repeatedly posted that he was not raised like that, emphasizing moral superiority, while simultaneously instructing 50 Cent to dig up a grave. The hypocrisy was noted by hundreds of fans, fueling further debates about morality, family values, and the consequences of social media escalation. The culture was caught in a loop of shock, disgust, and fascination. Every post, every comment, every leak pushed the narrative further into legend territory. And if you thought that was enough, then hold on. Because as of late February 2026, T.I. was reportedly preparing a musical response, something that would channel the chaos into tracks that hit both emotionally and lyrically. Sources said he had already been in the studio with a legendary producer, laying down beats, writing bars, and shaping a musical counteroffensive that would cement this feud in hip-hop history. Whether this was a calculated strategic move or pure passion-driven reaction didn't matter. The anticipation alone kept everyone hooked. By the end of this stage of the feud, the story had morphed into something far larger than a social media spat. It had become a cultural event, a media spectacle, a moral debate, and a lesson in how quickly personal grievances can escalate when social media, fame, and legacy collide. But everyone involved, 50 Cent, T.I., King Harris, Tiny Harris, was under the microscope, and the public was now demanding answers, reactions, and resolutions that were unlikely to come quickly. The internet watched, waited, and reacted. Fans took sides. Commentators theorized endlessly. Fake investigative reports circulated. Leaks and insider info exploded. And in the middle of it all, the original spark, a single Instagram post of Tiny Harris, proved that even the smallest action can ignite an inferno in the digital age. The tension is at a boiling point. Social media has amplified personal pain into public spectacle. The family dynamics are complicated. The legacy of lost loved ones has been dragged into a feud for millions to witness. And while the public obsesses over memes, leaks, and quotes, one question remains. What will the fallout look like, and who will face consequences when the smoke clears? The feud is no longer just about Instagram posts or heated comments. It's become a full-blown cultural wildfire, and the fallout is starting to take shape in ways that could leave lasting scars on everyone involved. Social media still pulses with every new development. Every fan, blogger, and troll feels like they're witnessing modern hip-hop history, and the stakes have never been higher. King Harris's grave post, T.Y.'s calculated studio response, and 50 Cent's simmering fury have now moved beyond personal affronts into potentially career-altering territory. Let's talk about 50 Cent. Curtis Jackson isn't just some rapper with a Twitter account. He's a business mogul, a brand, a living empire. Everything he touches, from energy drinks to film projects, has multi-million-dollar implications. After King Harris's post, rumors started swirling that 50 was considering pulling back on major partnerships and delaying releases just to avoid further association with a social media firestorm. One fake leaked document circulating online suggested that executives at G-Unit, Curtis's various entertainment ventures, and even some film studios were in emergency meetings, discussing potential brand fallout. They're worried this could tarnish everything 50s built over decades, the so-called insider claimed. Again, unverifiable, but the hype alone made it viral. Public reaction reached a fever pitch. Every post, every story, every IG video clip seemed to fan the flames. Memes comparing the feud to historical rap beefs like Tupac versus Biggie, the Nas versus Jay-Z, and even old-school East Coast/West Coast rivalries flooded timelines. Analysts noted that unlike those old beefs, this one had family members, dead loved ones, and social media transparency all intertwined. It was the perfect storm of scandal, and everyone wanted a front-row seat. Meanwhile, T.I. was quietly plotting his own moves. Insiders claimed he was already strategizing music drops, social media campaigns, and subtle lyrical jabs to defend his family while keeping the cultural optics intact. One source alleged, T.I. isn't just reacting. He's thinking 10 steps ahead. He's channeling everything into music, controlling the narrative, and making sure the story is told his way. And let's be honest, this is classic T.I. energy. Measured, strategic, and unapologetically lethal on the mic. Every snippet of studio footage, by every teased bar, every behind-the-scenes clip, only amplified fan anticipation. But let's not forget King Harris. The youngest Harris in the mix isn't just a viral punchline, he's also a father and an aspiring artist, carrying the weight of his father's legacy while trying to build his own. Social media erupted with opinions about whether King crossed a line or defended his family appropriately. "I get defending your mom," one fan tweeted, "but posting 50's dead mother? That's next-level chaos." Meanwhile, hip-hop historians chimed in, noting that dragging deceased family members into a feud was almost unheard of and could redefine internet beef etiquette forever. King's move was both legendary and controversial, and the cultural conversation reflected it. Let's talk about hypothetical consequences, because in a feud this explosive, they're inevitable. Legal experts started weighing in, or at least fans pretending to be legal experts, speculating about possible defamation claims, harassment suits, or social media injunctions. Some suggested that 50 Cent could explore civil avenues for emotional distress or unauthorized distribution of sensitive images. Whether those paths would go anywhere is another story, but the threat alone added tension to the saga. Financially, the ripple effects were already being felt in the rumor mill. Brands, sponsors, and TV networks were allegedly assessing whether association with either camp could hurt revenue or public image. One unverified report claimed a streaming platform was reconsidering a major series featuring 50 Cent, citing potential public relations complications stemming from the feud. Again, whether true or not, the idea that a social media post could have multi-million-dollar implications is what made this story irresistible. Cultural commentators had a field day, dissecting every nuance. Some framed the feud as a lesson in social media warfare, others as a reflection of generational shifts in conflict management, and a few as a morality play about family and legacy in the digital age. One podcast host argued, "This isn't just beef. This is modern mythology, the story of lost mothers, loyalty, and public spectacle. People will be talking about this in 10 years. Fans, of course, ate it up, creating fan theories, mashup videos, and even speculative diss tracks in homage to the chaos. T.I.'s musical counteroffensive started dropping in snippets, adding another layer of complexity. Every beat and every bar seemed designed to assert dominance without overtly naming Curtis Jackson, a tactic both clever and calculated. The Atlanta cadence, the southern trap influences, the brooding synths, they all combined to create a sonic weapon aimed squarely at asserting family loyalty and protecting legacy. Fans and media outlets immediately labeled it the soundtrack to a feud, and reaction videos spread like wildfire. Meanwhile, 50 Cent's responses remained cryptic, yet unmistakably sharp. Short captions, reposted clips, subtle memes, they were all strategically timed to keep fans guessing. Each post added fuel without giving away strategy. Social media analysts noted that this type of controlled trolling is a classic Curtis Jackson move, always visible, never fully committed, leaving fans and rivals alike in suspended anticipation. And at this point, the feud had become more than music or social media. It was a cultural and moral touchstone. Fans debated questions like, is this justifiable family defense? Did King Harris go too far? Is 50 Cent right to be furious? How far is too far when it comes to legacy and respect? And as usual, the internet provided more heat than answers, which only fueled further escalation. Speculation about potential backstage interventions emerged. Sources suggested that T.I. might privately pull King aside, instructing him on hip-hop etiquette and the long-term implications of posting graves online. Meanwhile, 50 Cent's inner circle was reportedly planning private discussions with Curtis, aiming to calm the storm, reassess strategy, and protect business ventures. But public appearances, social media posts, and leaks continued to amplify the drama, making any behind-the-scenes diplomacy extremely difficult. The cultural fallout wasn't limited to hip-hop. Mainstream outlets, entertainment shows, and viral news channels picked up the story, framing it as a generational battle over respect, family, and social media ethics. Panel discussions debated whether this marked a new era of public accountability for celebrities, or if it was simply another viral spectacle destined to fade once the next headline hits. And then there's the emotional toll. While fans debate, memes circulate, and analysts pontificate, there's no denying the human element. 50 Cent, having lost his mother at a young age, faces a pain that most people cannot fathom, compounded by the fact that it's now being publicly exploited for clicks and likes. T.I. and King Harris are also navigating complex dynamics, balancing personal pride, familial loyalty, and public image. Social media doesn't forgive mistakes, and the emotional stakes are astronomically high. We're left with a few undeniable truths. First, a single Instagram post can ignite a global spectacle. Second, family dynamics, past trauma, and fame create a combustible mix that can escalate beyond anyone's control. Third, the world watches, memes, theorizes, and obsesses. And finally, in a culture obsessed with legacy, respect, and digital dominance, the fallout from this feud could resonate for years, influencing how future artists, families, and public figures navigate conflict. The story of 50 Cent and King Harris isn't just a feud, it's a cautionary tale, a cultural touchstone, and a viral legend in the making. And while the dust may eventually settle, the public will remember exactly how it unfolded. The posts, the music, the outrage, the moral questions, and the sheer audacity of dragging deceased loved ones into an internet spectacle. Ask yourself, how far is too far when defending family? Can social media ever be a battlefield without permanent scars? And who, if anyone, comes out unscathed when legacy, fame, and personal trauma collide in the public eye? The war is far from over. But one thing's for sure, the world is watching, the internet will not forget, and hip-hop culture has just witnessed one of its most shocking, morally complex, and viral conflicts of the digital age. So now I've got to ask you, what do you think? Was King Harris justified defending his mother, or did he cross a line that even hip-hop culture can't ignore? And 50 Cent, should he have just ignored it? Or was this the moment he finally snapped after decades of personal pain? Think about it. This isn't just another Instagram beef. This is legacy, family, trauma, and respect all colliding in front of the entire world. Every post, every story, every snippet of music, people are watching, waiting, and forming opinions in real time. And here's the kicker. This saga isn't over. The next move could come from any direction. Another diss track, a viral post, or even a private legal maneuver that makes headlines tomorrow. Who will blink first? Who will rise above? And who will get burned by the fallout? That's why you need to stay tuned, because this is the kind of drama that doesn't just fade away, it leaves a permanent mark on culture, on careers, and on the people involved. And if you want more inside looks, real-time updates, and deep dives into every twist of this explosive saga, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. This story is only getting hotter, and you don't want to miss a second of it.